Call the meeting to order. First thing is approval of minutes, January 5. Is there a motion to approve
I'll make
those?
a motion that we approve the minutes of January 5th.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, do that discussion. Yeah. Alright, under the minutes section, you said it was December 21st, 2016? It was still 2015.
Yeah, what do you know? We were taking a year.
Yeah. Additions to the agenda, I had added the OSHA report.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's right there. Wow, I was blind
Yeah,
that day, I
right
didn't even
there.
see
Is
it.
that okay? I mean, you guys discussed it,
It's
and then you
fine.
kinda made, okay,
Yeah,
so that'll
I
work.
just totally didn't even see that. Under communication, so the Cornwall Foundation gave $2,000. Was it just for food, or was it food and fuel
To
fund?
the food and fuel fund.
Food and fuel fund, so it was for more than just groceries.
Well, the letter says groceries.
Oh, is that
The
right?
letter that you guys
Oh, it
reviewed.
does?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, we
It's the
restrict
food and
that.
fuel fund, but it was the groceries.
Okay,
they were
that's what it says.
specializing,
Alright.
yeah.
good. Public comments were on the holiday tree and also requesting that the EDC post their minutes on the website.
Ah, okay.
And that's all I got.
Anybody in particular, just say EDC post minutes on website?
Oh, it doesn't, I don't remember who said it. Was it Joanne that asked?
I don't remember offhand. I'll just say EDC post minutes on website.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, any, so then we'll approve them as amended. All in favor? Aye. Additions to the agenda, any additions to the agenda? Communications, got a very nice card from Jill Gibbons thanking us for the nice party we had for her thank you. She liked the lamp from Todd Piker. So anyway, very nice note from Jill, and with love, appreciation, the best regards to all. So nice little thing, and she actually made her own cards. When she went over to Ireland last year, she came up with that. So anyway, nice card from her. Public comments, are there any public comments?
I had a communication.
Oh, communication?
And so my communication was received from Joyce, actually. After our last meeting, it was a selectmen's update.
Okay.
So I guess this office is going to be sending out a monthly update
Yeah,
on what's going on.
right. People have asked me what's going on, so I'm sending out a monthly update to people.
Okay, so I was just surprised that you didn't mention that to us, that it's coming out of the Board of Selectmen account,
Well, it's
or
coming.
email account, so, and it was in the Chronicle, so that was something that was decided on at least by mid-December.
Yeah,
But we didn't hear anything about it, that it was gonna happen at our meeting until after the January 5th meeting. I was just surprised that it came out as a selectmen's update, and we had no idea.
well, people asked me to write a letter to them, tell me what's going on, so I did. So I didn't
Okay.
think it was not necessarily from the board, and I want to be able to say to people what I think's going on. You have your letter.
You could, and
I
that-
put out my letter. I haven't given you, I don't seek any oversight on how you communicate with people. And
Right.
the people want to hear from the first selectman, so that's what I'm doing, and
Right.
people are glad to hear from.
And that's
So-
awesome. But mine comes from my own personal account. Yours
Yeah.
is coming from the Board of Selectmen account. So I have no problem with that as long as it came from the board. But if it's gonna come personally from you, then, I mean, I have asked in the past that we each have our own separate email accounts. So if you want to have your own personal First Selectman's email account that you're gonna send personal emails from, then that's fine, but there should also be Selectmen 2 and 3 accounts.
Richard, you're left out. Do you want your own account, or are you happy
2 or
with the way
3 or
things
2
are?
and a half or
I
whatever
think
they
you're-
need to be,
you're,
but if it's gonna be, if something's gonna come from this office as being from the Board of Selectmen,
No, it's coming from the first selectman. The first selectman office is different from the board of selectmen.
okay,
office.
then it should come from your personal email account.
No,
or
because
or
it's not
a
coming from me as a person, it's coming from me as first selectman. I'm the first selectman, you guys are the board of
From the
selectmen.
Board of Selectmen email account,
It's from the selectman's office.
which is all of us, the board.
It doesn't necessarily, I communicate with people one-on-one as the first selectman. Richard, do you have any guidance on
I,
this?
I think you're making way more out of it than necessary. He's the boss, he's the mayor, he's the first selectman.
He's the
We-
mayor,
Well, whatever you wanna call it. We are the board of selectmen, he's the first selectman.
right?
This is the selectman's office, and Gordon runs this office. Gordon is in charge of this office.
In
We are not in charge of this
Conjunction with
office.
2 other selectmen.
We are
No,
not in charge
chief
of it.
elected official, I have administrative purposes, duties, responsibilities separate from the entire board of selectmen. And that's all this is. I mean, I go down to, I have people come in here every day, people call me up. I don't consult with the board on every single thing. If there's a major policy issue, we go back to the board. We try to keep you informed with what's going on. However, I do have my own voice as the chief elected official of the town, separate from the board of selectmen.
You do, and as I said, if you were, if it was coming from your specific email account, that's fine. But you're sending out an update from the board's email account.
He's sending it from the selectman's office.
Selectmen's office,
He's in charge of the selectman's office. I think.
in conjunction with us.
I don't agree. I don't agree. We get to vote on many issues, and there are many other things that Gordon does on his own. He meets, I think, all the time, every day, all the time, making decisions, all the time. And maybe we're informed about it, maybe we're not. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's, you're making way more out of something that's not necessary. I mean, so what you're saying is you want to approve what he's going to send out.
I think that it should at least be run past the board
Well, then.
to say, hey, I'm sending this out, maybe you have something else you would wanna add. Maybe I have something else you wanna add. But we're not given that opportunity, it's just, it's the first selectman saying, here's what the board has to say.
Here's what the first selectman has to say. I mean, I think that's,
From the board's email account. So it's
It's
implied
not
that
as if-
it's from the board.
It's signed as first selectman, it's not signed for the board. If I was saying for the board of selectmen, I totally agree with you, but I'm not.
so when he's in communication with any other office in town, and something's gonna be communicated from this office somewhere else, it has to be approved by us prior?
We should at least know about it.
I don't think
You
so
can't.
at all.
This was,
You
I just
can't.
don't think so at all. It's out of the
at some
question.
point in time, this was 3 weeks ahead of time,
I-
we knew it was
I
gonna
think it's
happen.
an
and-
irrelevancy. You're making way more out of something. If something has to be communicated to planning and zoning, he goes and makes a statement to planning and zoning about something. He walks over and talks to Karen. It's not coming from us, it's coming from this office. I mean, I don't even know why we're discussing it, to be honest with you. I really don't understand, unless you have a specific thing that you have an issue with what he's saying.
It's just an e-communication specific thing that, you know, if something's coming from someone's email account, it's implied that this is from this office, this is from this person, depending on which account it comes from.
Okay.
I think in other towns, you'll find in other towns, there's letters to the people from first selectmen. You can find in other towns in Region 1, the Board of Selectmen meets once a month. We meet twice a month. I make an effort to keep you up to date with what's going on, probably more than a lot of selectmen do, because they only meet once a month. In between those monthly meetings, the first selectman acts daily on town business without consulting the rest of the board, because they're not in a meeting setting.
Who meets once a month?
Probably half the towns in Region 1.
Kent, Salisbury, I think Falls Village.
So we make an effort to work as a board, communicate on a wide variety of things, which we're going to do tonight. And, you know, the fact that I want to have my own statement to people, because people have asked me what's going on.
And that's fine.
Maybe-
I would just hope that if it was gonna come out of the selectman's office, the selectman's email account, that the entire board would have been at least informed that it was gonna happen.
Okay, I think we've heard that. Are there any other communications?
That's it.
Okay, public comments?
Yeah, I'll bring up public comment because I brought this issue up last year when I said that the CWL selectman at optonline.net email address was inappropriate because it only went to your office. And I said that I thought that the address should be adjusted to go to all three of you. And you said that Joyce immediately forwarded all correspondence, although we have had several examples where that didn't happen as promptly as it should have. Now you've just talked about the fact that you've done a lot of correspondence directly. And I see Richard's point, absolutely right. You go and you talk to Karen Griswold, Nelson, you talk to all the other people in town. But when you are communicating as the first selectman to the people who vote for you, or don't vote for you, but for all the people you represent, then I think it should come from a different email address. When people write CWL selectmen, they think they're writing to everyone. When they get something from that address, they think they're getting something from everyone. I think it's great that you've decided. I think that's the nicest compliment Heidi could get to her view from her seat that she's done, is for you to do, or you and Richard to do whatever you think. But I don't think you should do it. You can't have the argument both ways. You can't say CWL selectman address is for all selectmen and then use it for your personal correspondence. First selectman notice, I have no problem with that. I think it's a great idea, but it should be a different email address than the one that the community thinks is the one that represents all elected selectmen.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, when emails are sent to that address and it says, "Dear Board," they are forwarded to the others too. When it says, "Dear First Selectman Ridgway," it's First Selectman Ridgway. I just want to clarify.
I just think that people sometimes don't make that differentiation.
Well,
And it
in their
would be-
salutary beginnings, they usually make that clarification.
Yes, and any of us who get hundreds of emails a day know that many times there's no salutation.
Okay. All right, on to the main part of the meeting. We have with us tonight Jim Vaneke, who is the highway foreman, to discuss the budget. And Jim and I have gone over a few things preliminarily. We have in your packets, I'll give you a minute to sort through it. We have two areas, which are capital and the budget. Should have the 5-year plan with you, where maybe we'll start with that because it's pretty straightforward. We have in the 5-year plan for the this coming year, budget, we have $100,000 for highway equipment, which is a replacement backhoe, and Jim has done some work investigating the prices of backhoes. So, Jim, welcome.
Hey.
Thanks for being here. And anyway, and thanks. We're having a good season so far and keeping everything in motion. So, let's hear about backhoes.
Well, about 2 years ago, they came out, the government said that they have to make engines Tier 4 compliant.
Federal or state?
Federal. So a lot of people were scared. We were when we bought our dump truck, the last dump truck. It's running the new emissions, using the fluid, the diesel additive fluid. So I tried to get reviews on how that engine was working out since it's been on the market 2 years, and I haven't gotten any negative, nothing, just a lot of old timers that were afraid of something new, fixing up the old stuff and trying to avoid the new engine. So Anyway, there's a big question mark there. We've had really good luck with our current John Deere for strength and no real problems, just the usual wear and tear. But I did look at John Deere and Cat, the two kind of local, easy to get parts through the area. And Cat is state bid. They have the state bid right now. And with trade-in, they came in around 100,000, which I think is our target number. John Deere's at 126, 126,000, but they haven't looked at our trade-in yet. So I want to kind of, if we could spend around that 110,000, I think that would give us a better grip on it. I need to talk to Canaan. They just bought a Caterpillar under state bid, and I need to talk to Torrington. They just bought a John Deere. So I want to find out the experience of their mechanics. Salisbury bought a John Deere, and they said that they had a lot of problems with their Caterpillar, older engine, so they're not running the Tier 4 engine, or they weren't in that machine, but they went through 5 turbos in the time that they had it, and every time it was repaired, one time they drove it out and it broke right in the parking lot. So it was a nuisance. They had problems with the service department over in Newington. We've had really good luck with W.I. Clark. So I kind of tend to want to favor something that we've had for 19 years or so, or 17, and have had very good luck with. But it's all new technology with both of them, and I want to still investigate and see where we end up.
We have a Cat now.
We have a John Deere.
The Cat dealer is in Newington, as you're saying?
He is. Yeah.
And the Deere dealer?
In Wallingford. But we sometimes get parts out of Brookfield or Canaan for the John Deere.
And the current backhoe is 99. Do we have any idea how many hours are on it?
The hour meter broke at around 7,500, and that was 5 years ago. So I think we're well. It's safe to say, as I told the dealer, it was safe to say 9,000 hours on that.
So when the procedure would be, if we get this appropriation in the approved in the budget in May, then we would go out to bid in May for that. We would get competitive bids on several makes, but it seems like we've got a decent number there in 100,000 considering the trade.
Right.
So that's sort of what we're at tonight, as opposed to going out to bid, making sure our budgetary numbers are pretty solid going to the Board of Finance. So that looks good.
But you said you were more comfortable with 110,
Right.
so we're 10,000 short. Where does that come from?
Well, we'd have a trade-in.
Yeah,
Well,
the
the
Cat.
Cat was including the trade-in.
Right, Cat came in at 100 with the trade-in. And John Deere, I'm hoping because it's a John Deere, they'll give us a little more than Cat's offering. So, and even if they give us 20, that still leaves us with the John Deere 6,000 under.
Right.
So I wanted to keep our number at around 110.
Right.
Just keep a little more possibility out there
Little more
instead of
cushion.
locking in because of financial reasons on a Cat.
And regardless of where which one would be purchased or another one that we're not mentioning, if there's maybe different models of the two choices we're looking at, is most of the service end up local anyway?
Yeah, JW Tractor can work. They have the diagnostic equipment to work on. The computers, they could plug in and understand what the codes are. So that's a big plus because they're our mechanic. They recommended Cat over John Deere. Salisbury recommended John Deere over Cat. So it just makes your imagination run wild. You want to make the best decision, I don't want to have something break in 5 years,
Kind
so
of
I want to do it
warranty.
right.
Kind of warranty to get in a backhoe.
Oh, so the Cat is 2 years, 2-year warranty on the powertrain, and John Deere is only 1 year on everything. So I called John Deere today to get an answer on if they have an extended warranty package, and he didn't get back to me, so, but I'm looking into that.
Okay, so you'd be comfortable with 110,000 in there, and if we don't wind up spending 110, then that's the way it is. But at least if we found something that for whatever reason, because this machine hopefully would last as long as this one, it would be, you know, a 15-year machine.
Right.
Want to go for the
I checked
best product.
auction sites on the John Deere, and for in really good shape, they're bringing around 30,000. And we kind of got caught off guard. Ours was working on the side of the road. And I think if I had a couple of days to make it look good, you know, it may get us a little more money.
Wash
Right.
it, wax it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so then we'll, and our capital will increase that number to 110 at this point. Everybody good with that? Next big item is road improvement. There's $275,000 in there for road improvement. Jim has done some estimating with a company we've used before on chip sealing, roads. We've got also presently, you should have in your packet something that looks like this, which is the balance of the capital projects accounts, and in there there is we have $150,000 left in our road improvement line account, which is at the very end of everything, pretty much. I think it's not quite at the landfill, but it's there. That number is on the top of page 7. On page 6, it said road improvements, bridges, culverts, and you can see the, I'm sorry, on the bottom of that, we have road improvements there, so actually the balance there is $104,000 there, which is part of the way down there, because that adds up all the different road work, which is bridges and the road work.
So what's the 291 comes from what then?
The 291 is including the hydrants, the guardrails, and the road improvements. So the real bottom line for road improvement is the 104.19.
104, right, because that, the 150 up on top there, that's the bridges.
Right.
Right, so the 150.
That's bridges, culverts,
150.
Hydrant,
guide rails, hydrants.
yeah.
So if you skip some hydrants.
Yeah. So we have 104,000, 100
Right,
in road improvement,
yep.
that's what you said.
So,
And that's to spend between now and, no,
it's available to spend now.
between now and July 1st.
So our big question that we've been kicking around is whether we want to do a oiling program in April the way we're doing it, because the oil you can use in April is significantly less expensive than the oil that you can use in the summertime. So we have done an April program for the last several years.
That's what we did, yeah, the
Last
last
year and
couple of
the
years
year
with
before,
the MC 3000.
MC 3000, correct? As opposed to the Pass Oil, the MC 3000, the current price is $138 per square yard compared to $178 for the Pass Oil. So you can see there's almost a third savings there for the quarter.
The other significant factor is that it works better, or it appears to work.
Well, we've had good luck with both the Pass and the MC 3000. It's just more expensive to put on than the Pass. So the MC 3000 is better than the water-based things that we've used 3 and 4 years ago.
Okay, all right,
I
sure.
think that's right, Ken.
Yeah.
So basically finish up the odds and ends in North Cornwall, do West Cornwall Village, to do Cornwall Village, and to get most of the roads done in Cornwall Bridge all the way up to, don't see if we come on here, but the Popple Swamp and Pritchard Road, Ball Mountain, Swiss Bridge, Dark Entry, Flat Rock. Get a significant way into Cornwall Bridge would be 180,000 with the MC 3000, which you have to use before May 1st, and then 230,000 if we use the pass oil this summer. But we don't have $180,000 available right now. We have 104,000. So our thought is to finish up the villages in North Cornwall this spring, and then because the price of oil is continuing to go down, we have in our 5-year plan $275,000. We do another round of oil with Cornwall Bridge in the summer with the pass oil, I think.
Yeah.
But at least the thought is to get some of the roads done this spring, maybe do another shot in the summer with the 275, not use that all, but use a good part of it. We'd basically be doing a double dose of roads
Sure,
to get everything
sure.
done up to East Cornwall.
So, two thoughts. Is there a time frame after the summer that you can use the MC 3000? Is it after October 1st or November 1st?
It's,
something
you
with
can't
summer?
use it after May 1st, and
Right,
you can't
yeah.
use it until after October 1st.
After October
Yeah.
1st? So possibly that would be a thought?
Yeah.
But
I think
if it
so,
doesn't run
yeah.
into other problems?
We looked at Cream Hill yesterday or so, and it really seeps down in the stone. There was a warning that we could possibly plow it off with our plows with the carbide blades, but it's not doing that. It's gelling right in and smoothing over. After a conversation later today, I didn't get a chance to tell Gordon, I spoke with Seymour Sealing, and we're a little hesitant about doing West Cornwall Village and this village with the MC 3000, just in case there is an issue with temperature in April. It snowed last year, and we did have some bleeding through, but that was a lot of farm tractors creating that, and triaxles at the grammar school. So we were going to kind of play it by ear with the weather.
Right.
If it's 32 degrees, probably skip the village. If it's 45 degrees,
And
stay by
then,
ear.
you'll do that later with the other stuff, or you would
Right,
just totally
with the
skip it
pass oil.
until after October?
Yeah, do it with the pass oil in the summer.
And so maybe doing it in October, the weather, if you could do it after October 1st, generally things are still warm. They've warmed up through the summer, they haven't chilled out yet.
Right.
Um,
A little concern, though, if we do it in the fall, it may not cure the way it does in the summertime.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
Leaf
gonna
peepers
ask, if
and
you had
so you're kind of
That'd be-
yeah.
more of a
So-
chance of getting peeled off.
Yeah,
But anyway,
that's
I
a
guess we'll-
concern.
we'll be under, right now, we're just talking budgetary
Right.
things, but it looks like because the price of oil's down, and we're still gonna have to rebuild a few roads, maybe $100,000 with the asphalt, the thought is we do a lot of sealing this year, using up that 275 plus the 100 that we have gives us.
And is there
a
any
lot.
value to crack sealing? That may be the term
Well,
for it.
I had this
Rubber
discussion with Roger this morning.
Is there a value to that, going down on some of the roads to maybe,
I think there is if you don't oil like we do. Sharon doesn't chip seal that I know of. Salisbury doesn't.
or Sharon didn't
Yeah.
chip seal for 25 years and then they paved it?
Yeah, and I drove through Sharon's roads today, and you can see in places it's bleeding through. This is what they're using for salt. The cracks are actually bleeding, so that's moisture underneath that. And I don't want to drag this on, but I work at my aunt's house on East Street, and when I rake the lawn up in the spring, There's long strips of this laying in the lawn, so there's some of that to it, and it works too, so there's some pros and cons with it.
So the main thing is for tonight, because we're just doing the budget, 275 would get us well
Caught up.
along. Some a double dose of sealing, asphalt, and at some point during the next fiscal year, we will cover the villages, good part of Cornwall Bridge, finish the north part of town, get us to East Cornwall in really good shape, so it may be a good time, because some years we've sort of been hesitant, so now the price of oil is down, we'll hopefully get some benefit out of that, so we'll keep 275 as a capital amount in the budget for that.
So I have to take asphalt out of that number?
Right, but it'd be 100, we can figure that all out because what's your,
Well, between the 275 and the 105.
yeah. Because if we, if we use just pass oil, which we're probably not going to do, it was $230,000, which if you combine the 275 plus the 100, we have 375.
Oh,
So we
okay.
still have, 140 for asphalt or something like that.
Okay.
So it seemed like we will push ahead, and maybe the asphalt price will be down too. Okay, so I think that's the capital part of the highway thing. Anything else you want to tell us about capital, big stuff, Jim, before we get into
Just on the trucks, in the 5-year.
Right,
It's truck 10 or 6.
Right.
It should be 9, truck 9 or 6,
okay.
so,
So not 10.
right.
What about your grader?
It's,
Is that in any plan anywhere at any
yeah,
point in
it's still
time?
ticking, so.
Okay.
Okay, so on to the highway administration supply line. Let's see, we have a budget printout, and Jim and I went over this morning. Again, we don't have,
I like the first number,
yeah, the first number, the other thing,
just through December 28th.
we spent $190. Another piece of paper in there, this here, this with the highlight on it is the actual to date. So that's slightly updated, and you can see if you turn all the way to page
Page 2 is
Page
that.
2. Halfway down, you can see we have had an oil delivery, which has caught us, brought us up to $1,600.
So this is as of today, yesterday?
Where do we use the oil from the transfer station? Do we use that for furnaces anywhere
We do.
anymore?
Yeah, we still do.
We have a waste oil for,
Right.
Yeah, we
In
go
the
through it
garage, or
really fast.
Where is it?
It's in our garage.
It's in your garage, okay.
Right.
I know the tank was full, the recycle tank was full last weekend, so.
Yeah, we pumped it out Monday, I think.
Good.
okay, so with the lowering price of oil, it seemed, even though we spent way more, if you look at our worksheet here, looking off that one, the big print for us senior citizens, it has an actual, which was how much we spent last fiscal year. We have a year-to-date, which again is updated by this, and we have the approved budget, which is what we're working off in this year's budget. So it seemed like the 6,500 would be a reasonable amount to keep in the budget because our oil prices are continuing to go down. Utilities, we did spend more than $4,000 last year, but that's not too bad a number. Again, with supplies, we have a $5,000 budget, we've spent $1,300 so far this year. Small equipment, basically all these numbers, these first half of the numbers seemed reasonable to us this morning. Do you have any other thoughts tonight as far as those first ones above the 220?
You're already way over on your small equipment. You were way over on it, or over on it, not way over on it last year.
Yeah, on
What is that?
supplies, you know, we should probably think of a computer, or
Uh-huh.
even the phone line. I could bring my computer from home, because it, you know, I have to do a lot of stuff at home. You know, and,
You need a
Yeah.
phone
Yeah,
line,
but-
is that?
Would that wouldn't be supplies, that would be,
well, like a copier and
right.
paper, those kind of things. But, you know, it's getting like doing research on backhoes and contacting people. It's so much easier with a computer, you know,
You don't have a computer?
at home, not at the
You don't have one
garage,
at the
no.
garage? You're kidding.
No, we were gonna tap into the line that goes down to the landfill, but we figured we still needed a modem.
Computer at the garage. Oh my heavens.
So you don't have a computer, or you don't have the internet?
Neither.
Oh, 2016.
Dark ages.
And internet access.
So we should increase those slightly?
Yeah, would a laptop go into supplies, or?
Well, I have Vera's old computer, but it's been sitting there about 2 years, so I'm not sure. It's all ready to go. They cleaned it out at the town hall, so I have that I can use. And then being next to the landfill, there's parts all the time down there, so we could make something work.
Right.
So really just the phone line is probably priority, and a copier.
Are we going with phone internet, or
Or
we're going
cable.
with cable internet now? We've got this big Northwest Connect thing going on.
Well, this is, yeah.
Well, we have Frontier at the landfill, so
Why not?
just add us to that. They seem to be doing okay with it down there. It doesn't seem to be too slow or anything.
That's cable though.
No,
Frontier.
Frontier
No.
is phone. Comcast.
So if we went up,
Comcast or Optimum is
if
cable.
we increased our utilities by 1,000, that should cover it.
If
Yeah.
you just need the internet, yeah.
Okay, any other changes, Jim?
No,
And the overtime labor, again, this year, we spent $325 as opposed to $16,000 last year for
Not
plowing.
after that time yesterday on the holiday.
So, again, we're not reducing the amount thinking this winter's over yet. But hopefully it'll be easier and last. The regular labor is contractual.
But back to the small equipment that's been over budget. What does that include in it?
leaf blower, a
Is there
backpack
more
blower,
gonna be needed in there?
and we got a post hole digger.
So that's what upped it this year,
Yeah,
and it was over last year too, a couple hundred, 300. So, I mean, is that something that there are small equipment that's gonna need to get changed out and upgraded going forward, or you're good at
I
2,500?
think we're pretty good, yeah.
We talked about a chainsaw, but even that's only $500, so. And for a lot of these things too, we went over with that, but we were under on some other items too, so. Like this year, last year we were under with snow removal. This year, we've had considerable success making our own sand, and between the winter and making our own sand, will probably be less than 75,000, so we'll reduce that down to 70. But even
What's the
So hard to know.
road materials?
road materials is process, gravel, pipes, what else is in there? Coal patch?
Yeah, anything, yeah, cold patch,
Or that's the,
Well,
Coal patch.
even
We don't use coal patch.
drainage materials,
little posts. So the thought is to reduce the snow removal by 5,000 to 70,000, and to increase the raw materials by 5 to 20,000. So I guess my point is between you know, we're saving substantial amounts of money by doing our own sand, but we're not reducing the budget there, so I think we're pretty confident on holding a pretty, same thing, we can reduce the fuel and oil. If you look at that, we spent $8,000 to date, we're almost halfway through this one.
Yeah, but last year you used 38.
Yeah, but the price is almost half of what it was last year, so I'm thinking if we
So I
drop
guess
that down by
If we keep going, you can adjust next year if you have to.
We
Right.
drop that from 40 to 38 or
or 35 or something,
35, yeah.
so. But I think even if we do those, we're still, don't you think we're still flush with
Pretty close.
money to do stuff, what we need to do?
I think so,
Even if we
yeah.
get it, internet,
tree maintenance.
tree maintenance. Tell us our tree discussion, we're getting more out of the tree crews from the power company who are stationed at the garage, so.
Right, because I was ready to throw them out if they didn't start,
They didn't
because
start
they're working
doing
in
what we
Sharon.
needed to do. Oh, okay.
And I found out through the foreman over there that they were cutting trees for the highway department, so I said, they've been in our town for 3 years, and so I get along with the guys pretty well, and I said, you have to throw me a bone, so they took a picture of the list I had, and they said they're gonna address it.
Working on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Good. When you say we're making our own sand, what are we making our own sand out of?
Out of the gravel bank, we have a screener, so
Oh, the screener.
yeah, so we probably made enough for half,
Yeah.
I mean, half
This
the
is
winter
The
maybe,
regional screen.
All the entire
Yeah.
winter.
probably the
Yeah.
entire winter, so right there, that should be a $20,000 or $30,000 savings. It cost us, what, a week's work of a one worker and a couple
Yeah.
$1,000 rental, and
Yeah, I
we
think,
made $20,000, $30,000 worth of sand came out of our pit. I mean, it's not replaceable, but it's
Right.
sitting there.
we spent 40,000 in sand last winter, so, the only concern I have is if we have a winter like last year where it was so brutally cold and our pile freezes, are we gonna be able to penetrate it and use it,
Yeah.
you know?
But
So,
you would have that situation no matter what.
yeah, we did, dive into, we found some pockets of it from the old days down at the gravel bank when they used to dump it down there. And we found it on a steep bank. We could pop a hole in it and it would stay kind of thawed. So that may be my storage in the future, is to make sure that it's up against this bank and,
Sort of protected
Yeah.
from the north side or something.
yeah,
That's good. What turns our salt green?
it's,
Magic.
yeah, it's a de-icing additive called Clear Lane. And it was a few dollars cheaper. So Norfolk went with it and a few other towns. And I kind of have a little mixed emotions with it, but we've only used it twice. So a lot of it this year's been just seeing what it does.
Right. Well,
Not
you
that I
just
really
get the
necessarily needed to
calls
use
going,
it, but
why is our salt green?
Yeah, we
We're
said it
an
was
Irish town.
we were going green.
Is it gonna
You
kill
know.
the grass? Jim?
Pardon?
Is it gonna kill the grass, the green
On the
additive?
roadside.
No.
No.
The grass seems to grow the best on the roadsides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And the
what
deer
is,
like
what
it.
is the additive?
I don't know.
Okay.
Some distillate.
It's a liquid thing that you add to the truck?
It's
'Cause
like
I
magic.
noticed it's
Oh, no, it's
green
in-
the,
It
or
comes.
it's white in the pile.
It comes green, yeah.
We have a green pile too. So we buy a little bit of the magic salt just so we can pre-treat this super steep hills
Yeah,
like
and the
Dark Entry and
intersections.
some, yeah, the intersections. So it was very good before these last storms that are going out around the clock. The crew went out and pre-treated the intersections with a little bit of magic salt, and I think it worked out really well. It kept, there wasn't a whole lot of overtime, and it was there as soon as the stuff came down.
So we buy it already pre-treated?
Right, we buy,
Oh, okay. I didn't see
what,
that pile.
$5,000,
with the garage. I saw a
$10,000?
white pile.
Yeah, there's a little pile that comes in,
Oh,
how much
okay.
at a time?
About $2,000 per load. It's about 23 tons a load, so for 2,000. And regular salt's 1,800, so it's a couple $100 difference.
Yeah.
So that's, most of our operating budget, except for vehicle maintenance. Little, thought being last year we spent $54,000 instead of the brutal winter showed up in the repair line. We've made some few adjustments and the weather's made some adjustments. We felt that 40,000 would be a good number to go with, again, not decrease
Right.
and not go over. So right now, our year-to-date is 18,000. Halfway through, we've got the trucks pretty well serviced for the storms and everything.
They're starting to cycle through again on service.
Okay,
Um, And we're using Nutmeg Motors, formerly Marola, as a alternate garage. So if JW Tractor's too busy or certain things will switch back and forth. So
And where are they?
in Torrington.
okay, so that's our highway budget. I haven't totaled it all up yet, but it's pretty much in line with last year's. But we are, as we said earlier, I think moving ahead on our ceiling program. We'll get a new backhoe. We've done quite a bit of tree work already. We'll keep up with that. And, you know, Jim really works hard, I think, on getting us very good value out of the money we do spend. And so we hope to be responsive when you need things and, you know, give you the money, material, and equipment you need to keep things going, because it is very important, safety and value-wise to the town, to keep the roads up and keep them moving in better condition,
Right.
so. Any other questions for Jim? Okay, well, thanks a lot. And I
All
think
right.
we're set for now, and said it's a work in progress, but we present to the Board of Finance the middle of next month, so. We'd like to
Okay.
accompany you then when we come. It all seems very straightforward and practical.
Well, I need final numbers on the backhoe.
No,
Okay.
I think if we put it up to 110,000, that will give us enough of a cushion, and then,
All right.
I mean, we could go out, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it though, it would be good to go out to bid if we can get them to do it so we don't, you know, we pay them in July 1st or whatever, so we'll wait for a little bit. I
Right.
think this, you know, whether it's 110 or 105 doesn't really mean that much in the big picture, but it would
Right.
be good to probably to go out to bid for a June delivery and talk to the guys, and they, I would think, pretty much know what price would be good in June,
Okay.
right? So
What's the lead time? I mean, if you go out to bid for one of these trucks, is it on the lot or do
Or
they actually make
backhoe,
it?
yeah.
I mean, the backhoe.
Yeah, they didn't have the model backhoe for John Deere that I was looking for, but they're all kind of compatible. But I looked at a 310, but what we want to buy is a 410. So, but they're all pretty much identical, just horsepower. And so I operated it, and he said that we could demo it for a few days, and so there's still some more homework and legwork to do.
But if you wanted that 410, how long till it could be built for you? Or till
Be-
they could get one?
Yeah, because some of the building part of it is if we want to change some of the things they have, but I think we're okay with standard. You could go old fashioned, but that's when they have to build it old fashioned. So yeah, well, I think it's sitting there that you'll just move it from wherever it is at another John Deere place.
Right, that's what I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
like car dealers where they just trade.
So
back
the
and
answer
forth.
is pretty quickly,
I think so, yeah.
As long as
Right,
somebody has
so
one.
we
But I'll
could,
let that
relatively quickly.
we could award the bid after we get town meeting approval in May, so
Okay.
we can find out how long their prices are good for, so we get a real accurate number for the budget.
And state bid is for the year, right?
Yeah,
Or
so I
from
imagine-
July to July?
I bet it's July,
Yeah,
July,
they're,
Oh,
whatever their
okay.
fiscal year is. yeah.
right? So
Okay.
it might be good to come in under this year's, because I would think it'd be going up. Okay,
All right.
great, all right.
I have one other question,
I
Jim.
did that.
Jim, I just have one other question. Do you have any forecast for the weekend?
It's gonna graze us.
It's gonna graze us, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Are you European or
Yeah.
American?
1 to 2.
1 to 2 inches.
1 to 2, there you
1
go.
to 2 inches.
All right,
But if it's
Thank
steep,
you.
then hopefully
yeah, okay.
Gordon, can I say thank you to one of Jim's guys, I don't know which one it was. It was so nice, he picked up the newspaper at the top of my driveway, and when he came down to plow, threw it right up on my doorstep.
We do that for everybody, Joey.
That was very nice service.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Patricia. Okay. All right, next up is Roger Kane to talk about bridges, and Flat Rocks Road Bridge in particular. Roger, welcome.
Glad to be here.
What else is new on bridges? The state is doing their inventory.
Right, well, they're doing the inspection, the under 20 inspection that hasn't been done by state forces in 20 years.
Under 20 feet.
Under 20 foot in span length, yeah. Last year I went out and reviewed the town-owned bridges that are not inspected by the state, and came up with a list and a little bit of a priority as what needs to be done, putting Flat Rocks Road as the #1 priority. Anyhow, the state is currently doing that. I did meet with the inspection crew when they first came to town. They impressed me with their ability, and you know, their knowledge of some of the things that I thought might be helpful to them, they already had. So I wasn't able to give them anything additional, but to tell them that Flat Rocks Road is listed twice on their inventory, and they appreciated that. And that the bridge on Lower River Road, since the inventory that was made 20 years ago, that bridge has been replaced and is now over 20 foot and gets inspected on a biannual basis. Once every 2 years, the state comes out and inspects that bridge along with all the other bridges, town-owned, that are over 20 foot, and all of the state-owned bridges. So, one of the things that I anticipate doing with the Flat Rocks Road replacement bridge is to get that into that same category. So that'll be a 20-foot span length, minimum 20-foot span length, so that it is included in the national bridge inventory, which the state inspects. So anything 20 foot or greater that's town-owned, the state gets federal funds to inspect. That's why they do it.
What is it now? What length is it
Well,
now?
it's a very strange bridge right now. It's about 8 foot on one side and 11 foot on the other side. But it doesn't have hydraulic capacity, so what we need to do is increase the span length. You can't really change the elevation of the bridge that much. I mean, you can 6-8 inches. But we don't need to change the elevation. We're going to widen the span length and put in what is an elliptical arch type structure.
Yeah, so does that mean on each side you'll be cutting out a certain amount to make it that 20 feet?
Essentially, yes, but we're going to
With the hill on each side.
hopefully we're going to be able to use a spread footing and build it up on either side, leaving the existing substructure there to channelize the water during construction. Then when that's done, we'll have to take that substructure out, probably use that for armor coating the brook at the end of the construction.
Does that impact the house there? Does that impact their
There-
driveway by
there are
any?
no
or
houses
doesn't
in the
quite go
area.
that far? Well, there's the house at the house on the pond, John Ashman's old house. The blue
The
house
access to
that's there.
that's up on top of the hill.
No, if you're coming from Route 45, before you get to the bridge,
Yeah, we won't be anywhere near
you're
that.
not quite that,
No.
you don't have to go there.
We won't encounter any driveway. There'll be a survey map of all this.
Yeah.
That, we have a couple of letters of interest from 2 consulting firms. One is Lennard, a firm we've done business with in the past. The other is Cardinal Engineering, which is a firm that one of their principals of the firm apparently rides his bicycle over Flat Rocks Road quite regularly. He saw that we were doing the test borings, which gave him a heads up that something's in the works, so they contacted us and wanted to know if we'd like, their assistance. So we talked to them, we met them out there at the bridge, and they've sent in a letter of interest, is what I'm considering it. It's not they're very comparable, both of these letters of interest. Leonard did the same thing, so we had something to compare it with, make sure we're in the same ballpark. And there, Leonard gives us a much wider range of sort of a minimum, maximum type of,
Let's look at these.
yeah.
So,
Do you have copies of them?
I just have these ones.
Okay.
And these are possible plans? These
No.
are-
No, this is just a proposal of what they could do for us.
I think
So-
actually Leonard's,
Which
we
have
have
extra copies.
several extra copies, lays it out pretty thoroughly where we're at with this process. Do you have your copy there?
Yeah, I do.
There's a nice little blue flow chart on the back page. On page 9, field work, utility coordination, hydraulic, scour analysis, rights of way, acquisition, which we don't think we'll need to do, plans, specs, estimate, permits, bidding services, including award, construction process. So where we're at with this particular bridge on Flat Rocks Road is Roger has, we've spent some money getting some geotechnical information to figure out what's going on in that area as well as at the gravel bank bridge. So what this bid would cover would be the engineering involved with the project. So we have done a bit of field work, we have to hire an engineer to come up with plans, and then we would go out to bid with and get a contract to actually install the bid. So what we're talking about now, before we can hire somebody to build the bridge, we need to have some plans. Now, the good thing is we've met with people that do prefabricated
Right.
bridges, which we've talked about before, and they have some engineering staff on hand in the bridge prefab business, so we may be able to optimistically reduce some of the work that is called for in these proposals. But at least that shows you a timeline of how long this may take if we choose Leonard, or at least where we are in the work sequence.
Is utility coordination, have we talked, that's CLMP and?
Yeah, it would just be overhead wires.
Is there anything in the neighborhood there?
Yeah, there's a overhead, there's a pole system, overhead wires. They might have to be offset as construction.
Right. I just couldn't remember if the power crosses there or not, or it just comes down on both sides and doesn't go
Yeah, no,
across.
there's no
Goes right through there.
It does go across right there.
electrical power?
I assume it's electric and telephone. It looks like, I don't know whether cable television, but it's a typical, two-lane system. I mean, as far as the utility companies are concerned. So what I would expect out there would be power, telephone, and possibly cable TV. Those are the three utility companies that would be involved.
Well, utility stop at my house, from there all the way to, so theirs must come from the other side, so it must
Right, but to
cross the
get to-
bridge, yeah.
Yeah, to cross
So
the
it
bridge
must
to,
cross the bridge if it doesn't like go on an angle
to get to
off the road.
I think Ashton was on both sides of the bridge there.
Yeah, at one point.
So we got both of these proposals this morning. Roger came down and looked at them both.
And they're both very, very similar. As what Leonard has done in theirs is shown what they're calling an estimate range. Their range goes anywhere from 52,000 to 75,000, depending what they encounter. Cardinal's estimate, theirs is about 53,500 if you add in all of the items. They have a few items that to be determined, and that would be, if necessary, there would be an extra charge for the items that are listed as TBD. The effort is essentially the same. I'm glad to see that both engineering firms understand the assignment essentially the same. These are not good estimates as to what the engineering phase would be. So, in talking to Gordon this morning, I said that we can expect somewhere, you know, a little over $50,000 for the necessary engineering. The cost of fabricating the items, which would be the precast footing, which is, I kind of describe it like an egg carton that you just sort of set down. You put the bridge in the egg carton, then you fill up the egg carton with concrete, and that gives you your footing. That's the type of footing I would, we hired Freeman to go out and do the subsoil studies. They did the borings, and they've determined both bridges are essentially the same, which is almost exactly the same as we had down on Lower River Road, which is a lot of great big cobbles down there. There are large stones, some the size of a Volkswagen, but it's not ledge. If we could get down to ledge, that'd be great, but we can't do that. We have large stones. We can, if you try to put piles down through that, it's extremely difficult. So if we can get out of scour conditions, then we can put a spread footing in. And the soil has plenty of bearing capacity to take the load of the bridge as long as the soil doesn't wash away. And when you have large boulders in soil, that's a potential. So by going the wider span length, like I say, right now the bridge is, as the widest portion of the bridge is only 11 feet 8 inches. We're going to put something that's probably 20 foot in span length, but it's going to be a long curved arch. It'll have a lot more floor. There won't be any floor in the bridge, but it'll have a lot more natural area for possible flooding or animals going back and forth. There is a dam at the inlet of the bridge, and we should be able to span that completely, so we won't be disturbing the concrete in the dam area. So that we have to have a contractor that's willing to work with us, and it'll mean a temporary closure of the road, which will affect some people more than others, but we'll probably have to close Flat Rock Road for the duration of the construction. But by having a precast structure, they'll build the bridge in a shop yard over in New York State, have the bridge ready to load on a truck and deliver to the site. So the actual installation of the bridge is fairly quick. I mean, we do have to close the road in order to remove the existing bridge, put in the egg cartons that I call them, then set the precast bridge, which will have already been built, bolt it together, and then backfill it, pave the type of road surface. This won't be a concrete deck. It'll be an asphalt road. The arch is concrete. We then seal the arch, we put gravel over the arch, and then we put an asphalt road on top of it. So that's what both of these letters telling us that they could assist us doing this, and it's, they're very comparable.
Does it, so going from 11 feet to 20 feet, does that necessarily change the channel of
It won't
the
change the
river?
channel
It
at
just stays as it is? Unless there was a flooding event, like you said, then there would be another 9 feet on.
Well, right now, as it
Yeah,
floods,
yeah, yeah.
we have, the only way to take any additional water is vertically, which increases the velocity tremendously.
Right.
So by spreading out the water, you won't have the velocity. When you neck water down, it goes much faster.
Right.
So we'll be able to spread it out, which will reduce the potential for scour or undermine quite a bit. I think it's the most practical and least expensive and fastest way to replace the bridge.
We're looking at the road closure for 60 days, 90 days?
Oh,
It said a couple weeks.
realistically,
At one point in time, it was 2 weeks.
yeah,
That's
the actual construction time is probably about 2 weeks. It's the prep time before that. Depending who the contractor is, it really has a lot to do with the contractor. The removal of the existing structure will take half a day.
Yeah, that's easy.
It's real easy. Then doing the footings, I mean, I can see if things went real well, 2 weeks of actual road closure I would probably say better to plan for 30 days and impress everybody by doing it in 15. That would be nice. There are no guarantees, it depends what you find. Leonard spends some time talking about long-eared bats, and they hang out in trees in that general area. There would be less than, I'm going to guess less than 24 trees that would have to be removed. You need to remove the trees in order to have a swing area to put material in and take it out, and be a lot of crane work, because you can't just, I mean, you can deliver material to either side, but it'd be, it's not a lot of material, it's not a big bridge, it'll still be a single lane road, it'll be a single span bridge. But I figure as far as a road closure, we probably have to say it should be done in 30 days, and might be able to impress people by doing it faster.
Are most of the trees, on the pond side or the downstream side of the?
Pond side, and they're mostly hemlocks, and they're deteriorating. The hemlocks are not doing well right now.
Are they in the right of way or outside the right of way, do you think?
I'm gonna say most of them are in the right of way. They're, on the downstream side, I think there's one maple tree that would probably have to go in order to be able to swing. That'd be an easier side to work from the downstream side. So, I think there'd be one, 12 to 14-inch maple, and mostly softwoods.
Do you think we'll have any right of way acquisition issues there?
No. No.
So, because in Leonard bid, it's like $1,000 to $5,000. How can we put that, I mean, as these are letters of interest, this isn't an exact bid, I'm trying to think of, we have a ballpark here? If we can determine there's no right of way, can we go back and say?
What they may be doing is saying that in contacting the adjacent property owners, on the downstream side, it's all state property.
Yep.
As part of the state forest. On the upstream side, it's private property. We have to get a right to encroach on private property for the purpose of construction. Now, sometimes people may want something for their cooperation. That's where Leonard might be coming from.
Yeah. What about, I mean, just trying to compare these on the same level. Leonard has a range, Cardinal has TBD in 3 places. Do you think the TBD are really going to come into play, or?
I don't think any of it will be significant. We talked about this, I mean, I talked to Mike Egan, is the fellow that put the estimate together. He's the one I met out there, we walked the job, they both seem to have a very good understanding of what we want to do. And I think what they're doing, like a pile design, if required to be determined, that could be significant. If we have to go with a pile foundation, I think we ought to rethink it. We don't need a precast arch. Still, they're very economical, but we would probably go with a smaller bridge, more like the bridge, more typically the bridge on Lower River Road.
And when will we know whether we're going with piles or precast?
Once they do the design, they really have to run the numbers on the. I can't see any reason why we wouldn't. That bridge in particular, it's the headwaters of the west branch of the Chappaqua River. There's a pond just upstream. The pond is a big holding spot if you get a flash flood or something. So the scour susceptibility on that particular bridge, in my opinion, is relatively low. The DEEP has to make that decision eventually. That's when they talk about the permitting that's necessary. They have to submit their 100-year storm, 500-year storm designs, show the capacity by increasing the waterway opening of the bridge, which we will do tremendously, should reduce any potential scour. You can't guarantee that, but it's certainly, from everything I've encountered, that should be the case.
Do we think that we'll need an engineer with contract administration or not?
No.
So the item 4 then, if that is not, because in Cardinal it's TBD,
Right.
in Leonard
think
it's
Leonard is-
5 to 10,000, but if we're not gonna need that,
That's typically something I can provide at a much reduced rate.
Reduced rate.
What else in this list of items would be things that could possibly be assigned to you? I mean,
As little as possible. As far as, I think they're, on Leonard's side, they've got a fairly significant amount of money for a local wetland permit. I know somebody on the inland wetland commission in town, and I don't think it'd be anywhere near that. On a town project where you have an engineer, where you have a contractor there to take care of any possible emergencies, it's, I won't say quite a rubber stamp, but you have to present what you're going to do to the commission. I'm on the
Yeah, of
board.
course.
So,
You have to present something, but
Right.
not necessarily this kind of.
no, but a set of, all the Inland Wetland Commission really needs is a set of plans and a guarantee that somebody out there is going to be responsible for what happens. As far as the physical work, the contractor will do the physical work as far as putting in the silt fence, as far as using hay bales as needed, as far as the channelization of water, through the project. We can use the existing structure to do that. It's really pretty simple.
In this particular project, they will have to, they'll be accessing it from both sides, I guess?
Yeah, right.
I don't think they'll be able to go through the river and come out on
No.
the other side.
There won't be any temporary detour or anything like that, but material can be delivered to either side. The nice thing is it's such a small structure, a crane can reach over and pick up an item from one side and put it on the other side quite easily. As far as delivering equipment as to which side they want to deliver it to, contractor will take that into consideration.
Maybe an excavator on both sides.
so this bridge currently is not part of the state survey.
Yes, it is.
It is part of the state survey,
But the less than 20-foot
less than
survey.
20 feet.
Okay. This bridge was actually inspected once on the program 20, 25 years ago. It was deemed necessary to be closed at that time, about 1991. The bridge was closed, the steel was replaced, and the deck was replaced, and the new bridge was opened. In the relatively short period of time, by bridge age, the bridge deteriorated to the point where it's almost to that point again. So in less than 25 years, we went from essentially a brand new superstructure and deck to needing to replace it again. The nature of that bridge being steel, especially uncoated steel, and being over a waterfall, it's constantly in a mist. So that's another reason for the precast concrete. It'll be a very low maintenance bridge. It should be there for more than 50 years without any understructure maintenance.
Do you think because some of the work on the pre-engineered has already been done, some of these figures can be revised downward, or is that out of school?
No, they've taken that into consideration. Both of them had copies, both Leonard and Cardinal got copies from us on the
Right.
Freeman report. So we have the full benefit of that. That was about $7,400 for each of the two structures.
Right.
But just focusing this one, that $7,400 has already been spent, and it's, the information from that is already being utilized by
Okay.
these contractors, by these engineers.
Do you have a preference at this time, or a recommendation for the board?
I guess my preference, and it's more by approach. I think that either firm could do an excellent job. They're both in the same ballpark, a few $1,000s apart. But I think that Cardinal probably has a more can-do attitude as far as being able to get out there, get it done this construction season. Leonard, I mean, even the two timelines that they show here, both are completed this year, but they're anticipating more problems.
Mhm.
And obtaining the permit from the DEEP, one of the things that we will emphasize is that this bridge is, if we don't replace it on our own now, we'll have to replace it in the near future because it has failed. It's getting very close.
So for budgetary purposes, right now, we have 150,000 in bridge repair. This, if we went with Cardinal, it's approximately $50,000. And what you estimated if just buying the kit would be 100 and maybe 50 for a contractor. Don't know until we go out to bid. In these schedules, we wouldn't go out to bid probably because all the permitting and design stuff, we probably won't go out to bid or get the bids back till midsummer. So we really won't have a hard number until after May. We're not gonna make the May town meeting thing. So my thought at this point is to increase the amount we have over the 5-year plan to a $200,000 total or so. And then if we need more money after we get the bids back, we can call a town meeting and get more money after we find the hard number.
So on this capital plan where it says 30, you wanna make that 50?
Correct. Or 60, but it's, if you put in 60, it probably cost you 60, but I don't know. Hard to tell. You'll know, we won't really know until after we get the bids back. Doesn't really matter what we have in our budget. If somebody's hungry, they're hungry. If everybody's busy, they're busy.
So we have 164,000 in there currently?
I read that as 149.
Oh, 164 minus the $7,400 up there. And they're, 74 twice, yeah, 150. They charge us the same for both bridges.
Well, yeah, they gave us one price to do both bridges. They did both bridges at the same time. You're looking at Freedman's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
they just
they
divided
did-
it in half as far as the
Right.
accounting, they just went half and
Exactly.
half.
They did they spent a little more time probably on the gravel bank bridge.
I forget now, these
Because that
numbers
was
it
the
says
first one they did.
approved previously and changes, when were these changes? These changes were,
The changes, the approved previously was last year or 2 years ago. The changes, we changed the 5-year
past
plan
October.
last October. So this would be October 14 would be the approved previously.
So we're gonna bump
The final
bridges
is,
back up to 50.
right. Okay, so, I mean, I think the budgetary thing, and then does the board feel comfortable with going with Cardinal, or you wanna getting ahead of ourselves, we have a bunch of other budgetary meetings, so I think we'll probably be meeting every week anyway. We just got these today, and I have no problem if the board wants to get a copy and look at it and vote to accept Cardinal, or if Roger has any other thoughts next week, because we all got this today. I mean, a week probably isn't gonna make that much difference at this point. I mean, my goal would be that we do have $150,000, we can't go anywhere without an engineer, so we should get that done relatively soon. We don't need any other budgetary approval to do it, and we should award this contract as soon as the board feels comfortable that this is the best way to go.
It's the first and necessary phase of about 3 phases as far as, financial. You gotta get the engineering done, up to and including the bid. Once you accept the bid, then you can start with the construction. We can, as I mentioned to Gordon, we can actually buy the precast units through the town, thereby saving a little bit of money, and hire a contractor to install our parts, if you will. It's like bringing your own parts to the mechanic and telling him, you want him to put these in. But it's not uncommon. But the first phase is to spend the first $50,000 essentially to get the design in hand.
Making sure our parts will fit the bridge,
Right.
or fit the setting.
Well, once
Make
the,
sure we're putting the
once
right
the
motor
parts
in the
are
car.
ordered, now there's, one of the things that, whichever engineering firm is going to have to work with Contact, Tom Hennessy, a fellow
Uh-huh.
I met out here, they can do a lot of the, they will do a lot of the, engineering of the components that go into the precast units. They'll figure out the reinforcing, patterns and the number and size of the bars that go in, so that, our engineer, say either Leonard or Cardinal, would not, be doing an awful lot. They would review the shop drawings to make sure that, yes, they concur that, Contact has done a proper design.
The bridge company determines what is required of the footing, what requirements are necessary for the footing, and then the footings aren't determined until we start doing some digging to determine.
No, the digging's all done. All they have to do is now prove it mathematically. And the biggest thing is the scour susceptibility. If they can prove to the DEP to issue the permit for us to build this bridge, and they're really taking on the main responsibility of approving the engineer's design. We're not going to say that, the footing should be a foot higher or a foot lower. Our consulting engineer will make that determination, submit it to the DEP, which will also then involve the Connecticut DOT Bridge Design Group. Will have to approve that it is what is called standard practice.
Cardinal is doing some bridges for Litchfield. Do we know that?
Yes,
Do
yes,
we
yes.
have we checked out their references and talked to their sort of satisfied customers?
I would like to do that. One bridge that they built very, very similar to this is a bridge that I went and took a look at. It is on Country Club Road in Cheshire. It's a little fancier than we probably want. It has, it's in a country club area, area of fine new
Flat
homes.
Rock Country Club Road.
There's no country club on Flat Rock.
Not yet.
Right.
I would probably talk to the people in Cheshire, the Public Works Department there.
What did they do in Litchfield?
They're working on the bridge in Milton, which is one of the reasons why I got involved with it. Out of another matter is they're going to replace the bridge over the west branch of the Chappaqua that goes through Milton, right next to the Congregational
Down in the
Church.
church?
And one of
We
the
do
things,
them all at the same time, so the road is closed for the same amount of time.
Nobody can get in or out. I'm sure that.
that project will be done
If you're in Milton, you're there for the
until
month.
the 2017 construction season. But one of the things that the Milton Church has asked is they put in a couple of blank conduits so that the church is considering putting a well on the green and running a water supply to the church. And rather than having to go through,
Oh, yeah.
attach it to the bridge, they can go through existing conduits. So Cardinal said they'd already got the award to do that on another small town bridge, that they would incorporate the conduits from us.
Did Cardinal here also say that they can get this done this year?
Yes,
Like that?
yes.
Yeah, it was.
Both of them, I mean, one of the criteria in talking to them is that this was going to be done this construction
Okay.
season. Leonard is a little more reluctant to make that commitment. If you look at their, here was the blue
Right,
and gray
the
line,
gray
goes a
line is
little
a little
bit
big.
longer into December this
Right.
construction season.
Okay, so maybe we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah,
And then
I'd like
get-
a copy of the Cardinal one, so that I can just look at it.
Right. So we'll do that, and then put,
Just relax.
we'll put it on our next meeting agenda, and then Roger can check some references.
What I'd suggest the board consider is, if we choose which firm we want to go with, use what's called a letter agreement, where we then compose a letter telling the components we want, and put a price in our letter to them. So essentially, we're giving them a proposal that they accept, saying that this will not exceed such and such a price. And we have a little more control over the price that way.
Okay. All right, so, and we'll increase in our budgetary calculations, the amount for bridges up to $50,000 for next year. Okay, thank you, Roger. Any more questions for Roger? Thanks for coming.
Okay.
West Cornwall septic study group grant. Been working a little bit on this. I believe I sent you a very rough draft of the grant proposal, Department of Transportation Responsible Growth Grant. I did get an email from Todd Piker, and I had a conversation with Ann Strother of the Connecticut DEEP today about grants in general for septic. I believe also I've sent you a copy of the email from January 13th from Steve Dietzko, who presented here last month. There's several different grant opportunities out there, from USDA to Department of Housing to State of Connecticut on top of this. This, Ann's advice was to go after the grant that gives you the most highest percentage of funding. DEP grants are out there, 55% reimbursement. The DOT grant is potentially 100% reimbursed. USDA somewhere around 75%. There is a meeting in Morris on Northwest Connecticut Economic Summit next Tuesday, I believe, the 26th, and the USDA will be at that meeting talking about wastewater, among other people. So I talked to Jocelyn today, and she said there will be somebody there that's used to financing studies from USDA there. So there's a bunch of different economic activities going on with that meeting. So I guess what I'm saying is that I did go to the COG meeting and worked with Jocelyn getting this on the agenda to get COG approval under this responsible growth grant, because it's due on August 4th, and they don't meet again until after the things.
February 4th, wasn't it?
February 4th is the deadline. They don't meet again, they meet their next meeting is after February 4th. So the COG did approve going to this grant. We're not bound to take it if we get it, but it's probably the best reimbursement we can get for doing a study. Proposal is for $5,000 or $50,000 for responsible growth grant. We could, according to Jocelyn, if you put in a little money, say we put in 10%, they would like people to put some donation towards it, so we have some stake in the process. So we could say, reduce that to $45,000, the town would put in $5,000. And there's a bunch of other questions and improvements that she suggests to this basic outline. But what Ann Strother from DEP said, they had this QBS thing where basically you interview 3 or 4 different firms. You don't ask them for prices, you see who has the best qualifications, and then you pick who you like the best, and then after you get them, you ask them how much it's going to cost. You can ask that you can put that as parameter, but the state tries to get away from asking how much it's gonna cost upfront. I don't quite understand it, but that's what she says they do, which is sort of contrary to what we would normally do. But anyway, I believe
It's a state, right?
the,
May not be the lead question, but it should be one of the questions.
right. The committee is prepared to look at 3 or 4 different engineering firms.
And this is for that initial study.
Right,
Yeah.
phase 1. We can use,
When would a decision be reached about being granted the,
so Jocelyn said this responsible growth grant, they said we actually met the undersecretary of OPM, came to the COG meeting, who actually goes through these applications. And they were talking about late winter, early spring. So depending on what we hear in Morris, we could apply for 2 or 3 of these. Ann Strother was glad to hear from us, said she's the backup 50, when we're starting with 55%, those funds are generally available. She likes Cornwall, she likes the general project, so it sounds like a grant is available through DEEP, take some time, go through the QBS thing, jump through some hoops, but, you know, within 2016, it sounds like we could get a grant to take the next step. You know, by midway through 2016. If we don't get this, I propose we then find out in the meantime how quick is the USDA? Is that a 2-month process? Is it a 6-month process? How long does it take them to do it?
2-year process?
Or 2-year process. It sounded like the DEP 55% thing was pretty quick.
So this one, which is the best deal
For
apparently
us.
for the moment, at the best, until we either
Until-
accept it or reject it, it's the best deal that we
Right.
apparently see. We need to apply for that by 2 weeks.
Yeah, February 4th.
Getting better at the date now.
Good.
Um,
Yep. So basically, I need to write this up and submit this with some more documentation. They said, she suggested putting maps and flush out the, so to speak, the project a little bit more.
It said, I think it read somewhere, it said it can't be, the application can't be more than 10 pages long.
Right, they don't have to worry about that.
Right. I think it said it couldn't be more than 10
But-
pages long, but there could be supporting documents that
Right.
extended the size of the application.
Right.
So Jocelyn had sent you back this email, so did you plan to answer these questions that she had?
Yes.
So
Right.
it is yours and the committee's intention to answer these questions to make it a real good
Right,
grant application package.
right, and I'm gonna try to meet with Todd, get on the same page, get him up to speed with all these different grant stuff in the next 2 to 7 days.
We need to
So-
authorize you to
So basically
submit this
submit
application?
submit the application for, say, $45,000, and assuming the community will come up with 5.
So we need to make a motion to authorize, make.
Right,
is that
to
what we're
apply
saying?
for this grant.
So I'll make a motion to authorize the first selectman to apply for the grant for $45,000 with the town's contribution of $5,000 for a total of $50,000. And we're applying to
Responsible growth grant.
Responsible Growth Grant
For the Department of Transportation.
with the Department of Transportation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like a,
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Then, yeah, the group has set a meeting agenda. And they're gonna meet every month regularly for the next 4 or 5 months. Of other things coming up, February Economic Summit, talked to Janet Carlson from the Economic Development Committee, and she's been talking to Mike Goman of Goman in New York, solidifying the dates of February 5th, 6th, and 9th for that.
What time on those dates?
Yeah, I'll have to get those exact times. I believe the February 5th and 9th are evenings, so like 7 to 9. And the February 6th is a daytime, because that's a Saturday, so that's like 10 to 12. But I've got to check in with Goldman and make sure, see how much time he thinks he needs. The 5th would be these are public meetings, people are welcome to come. Goldman suggested that people pick either the 5th or 6th. Everybody's welcome to come to the 9th. The focus on the 5th will be some background and also Cornwall Bridge. Focused on the 6th will be West Cornwall and other businesses. And the 9th will be mostly town-wide suggestions and next steps. Those are my words, not his. So we still have to get some details. So I'll put out some sort of press release and let the press know more about this as we get closer. So that's, at least that's
Can you
set.
get something to me this week? I was hoping to have a box with that in there
Yeah.
because that'll be the 28th, and that's
Okay,
probably the
Yeah, I'll
last
try to
day we
get on
wanna do
that.
it.
right. Yeah, we'll get you something tomorrow, Karen.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on that? Down to number 7.
How about number 5?
Number 5, oh yes, jumping around. The Economic Development Committee met last week. They had 2 people interested in joining the committee. There's 1 vacancy. They were able to recruit 2 people of interest, both of whom I felt were very qualified. One is Kate Sandmeyer Ward, who works at the National Iron Bank, and the second is Cynthia Matthews, who is working in, I think, running the 1812 house. Both, I think they're actually classmates at Cornwall Consolidated. Very impressive business people, interesting what they had to say about the town, the business climate, and I think Richard was there too, but I thought it was very interesting what they had to say of young people who've chosen to come back to town and are running businesses. So I think it was a consensus of the commission to try to get both of them onto the commission, which is a problem because there's only 1 vacancy. But not to discourage people at all, what I would propose is that we appoint 1 and then expand the commission by 1 member at our next town meeting. But that's a board decision, not my decision.
How many are on that board or that? board?
It's a 9-person board at this point, so it'd be a 10-person board.
It was fascinating to see 2 individuals approximately the same age. I don't know if they were classmates or schoolmates, I'm not really sure, I wasn't positive. They both are taking over, or they're both involved in businesses that parents were involved in, or one parent was involved in. They're very different businesses. One is really based on what's happening locally. The bank is more of a as a local, the local economy, the local traffic, things, people locally. And the other one is had been a mail order business and now really is an e-commerce business. So it's Atlanta, Chicago, Phoenix, Minnesota, it's wherever, it's e-commerce, so it's everything shipped. Totally different, it's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. I think what Gordon is saying is the same thing I'm thinking, and the rest of the board, the rest of the EDC thought, that these are 2 great individuals that would bring economic ideas, diverse ideas, to that commission. I think that's the purpose of attempting to come up with a way to get them both to be on the commission to participate. And if it means changing the ordinance, then so be it. I guess nobody was willing to resign at that previous meeting. If it was brought up again, maybe somebody would.
What was the name of the woman from Matthews' house?
Cynthia Matthews?
Would it make sense to have an alternate position?
Well,
Just
again,
in
we'd
case.
have,
Well,
then
it
we'd
doesn't
have
matter
to
'cause there's so much
amend the
to it.
ordinance anyway, so I'd rather, just say let's go up to 10, and then,
Yeah, does it matter on that committee if there's an even amount of people? They don't,
no, it's
if they had
generally,
an even vote, who would break the tie?
I don't-
generally the chair doesn't vote unless it's to break a tie
Yeah.
on a big committee, okay?
If they don't mind.
So,
Is that seconded?
There are no motion
Was
yet.
that a motion?
Is that a motion?
Was
that
there
was
a
a
motion
concept,
somewhere?
that was a
Concept,
concept.
yeah.
That was a concept,
So-
okay.
So what I would do is we vote for a member by paper ballot, and then we could, whoever's not the member then becomes the nominee.
Oh, but I don't know either one, so that wouldn't be fair.
Okay,
Do you have any, did they write a paragraph?
they did not.
I don't think it matters, I guess, I don't think it matters. Hmm. Yeah, that's a hard
I don't know,
choice.
I mean, you both were at the meeting, I
Right.
guess, so you both met them?
I mean, they're
or-
equally impressive people.
Yeah.
They bring a different set of things.
Do what they do in the tide election. The state rule is to flip a coin.
So I had a quarter in my pocket.
That is true.
Well, we don't have a tie yet.
Well, you do.
We have two people for one position,
Right.
it's a tie.
Well, I think we're figuring out a way to accommodate both people.
I think you should accommodate both people,
We are,
because
going to.
you should add an extra person. Can't hurt, can only help, can only make things
Right.
better.
Right, we're already there. Okay,
We can
so
just
I,
pick one.
again, suggest we vote by paper ballot, and whoever doesn't win paper ballot becomes
Can you just
our nominee.
make a motion to nominate someone?
Oh,
And
we
vote
could.
on that?
Oh, we could, but I think that's maybe the point of the paper ballot.
Right.
So that it, as is true with many of the things that may involve an individual.
Just, I mean, I'm just literally like PFA,
Yeah,
so I don't know
as long
either
as
one of
I
them,
have.
so.
It's a lot there.
I mean, I could do it, I could just pick someone, but it's not gonna be based on anything,
Sure,
so.
why don't we put both names, put both names in the hat and take one out?
Okay. There you go.
I mean, I think it's difficult to say one over the other. I just don't think that that's a fair way to do it.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'll put these under here. Richard can. It's not on top. Richard can reach in and grab
It's
it.
a historic moment,
Oh,
it's
yes.
a historic moment.
Okay.
Okay, so I,
Yes. Cynthia Matthews.
Cynthia Matthews
Okay, great. All right, so
will be
I'll-
nominated for the,
Yeah,
will be
so,
appointed.
so I'll make a motion on the basis of that scientific method to appoint Cynthia Matthews as a member of the Economic Development Committee for a term Joyce will find out. And
And I'll second that.
which will second that. And then, yeah, so let's vote on that first. All those in favor? Aye. And then I'll make a motion to nominate Kate Ward to be on the Economic Development Committee at its next vacancy. With the assumption that if nobody resigns before we have a town meeting, we'll have a town meeting in May at the latest, and we'll have it on the agenda for then.
I'll second that.
Is that
So it'll be on the agenda to amend.
typical to appoint someone to a vacancy that you don't have? Just kind
Sure.
of hanging out there?
It's a nominee.
As the next
People have
one?
nominees all the time. It's a new,
You might have other nominees.
we might. But I said.
I think you would just let that one hang until you add the extra
Well,
position to the
I think-
committee and then go from there.
My
Like,
feeling-
when's the
I
next
think
meeting?
that's, the
May?
point of what we're trying to do though, is have both of them be involved immediately, because it is new energy, they are, and that is the point.
I think it's also to recognize that the town would like them to be involved with this thing. And so this is not, it'd be nice if we have two vacancies, we don't, but as soon as we have a second one, that person will be appointed.
So with the assumption that there is no, what?
With the assumption it'll be on the
Resignation?
town meeting, at the next town meeting.
Next town meeting called to expand the economic development committee.
When's that, May?
May, the annual budget meeting.
If there's not one sooner for some
Right.
reason that we don't know of yet.
It's recognition of the abilities of the people who step forward. So, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, the Ben project, West Cornwall, south of the library, met with Mike, with a long last name, from HVA, who is updating his, Jaskemski, I think it's. He's updating their plans for the boat access, upgraded parking lot, toilet. So he should have some plans for us to look at fairly soon. Talk with him with a three-way conversation with CLMP, real estate person, and he's working on getting final draft of a license agreement so the town would agree to maintain that space after the construction is completed. So in effect, it'd be town parking lot, facilities, sanitary, and boat ramp for canoe kayakers and the fire department rescue boat. What was interesting, the big news of the day, was that CLMP expressed an interest in, the lease would actually cover the whole 3-acre piece, which includes the grassy area next to the library and
Includes the grassy knoll.
the grassy knoll, the grassy lawn. So, CLMP is interested in giving the town option to buy that whole 3-acre piece. So you never know what happens when you call people up. They've gone through CLMP, now Eversource. This is a non-important property to Eversource. They've sold their hydro. They're basically a transmission company now. So that would have to be a series of appraisals, whatever else, but it gives the town the opportunity to consider buying probably the biggest piece of property in West Cornwall in the future. So anyway, that's gonna progress. I have a call into the state. We have that old steep grant, trying to get an answer out of them whether that's still alive or not. So we could perhaps use some of that money to buy this as opposed to buying an easement, if that's what the town chose to do. So hopefully I'll hear back from Christine whether that grant is,
If the town
Alive.
owned the property, this is sort of a two-faced question. If the town owned the property, that wouldn't impact HVA's funding or monies, the GE monies that they have gotten to do their project. And if they do the project, and then the town subsequently buys the property or is in a position to buy the property, it wouldn't affect that either.
not really, because the HVA does not have the wherewithal to maintain it on a long-term basis. They have the grant,
And they
To
probably
build
don't
it.
want to own it anyway.
they don't want to.
Well, that's-
And all this, again, would have to be agreed to at a town meeting at some point,
yeah.
even to lease it or manage it. But anyway, it is, it would address some of the long-term issues in that part of town. So on working to develop this as best we can, and then, you know, a lot, like, these plans would have to go to HVA, the River Commission. There'd be local approvals before the plans are finalized to take to a town meeting. They have to go through that process, because then they say, no toilet, more toilet, who knows? Okay, so anyway, I thought I'd bring you up to date on that. Registrar of Voters, you got a letter from the registrars saying that they will be going over budget because the state of Connecticut has mandated the registrars go to more courses this year. So they're looking at that they're having to go to several courses. Each class is $200 per registrar. We are required to attend 8 sessions. We will attend at least 3 in this fiscal year. 2 times 4 is 12.
But it puts them over by 900.
That's what they estimate, 900. I mean, assuming also we've got to do, you know, presidential primaries are coming up in April, but they said they can absorb that. But this latest thing, this state is also requiring the COGS hire a election monitor, regional election monitor, which seems like a complete waste of money. But that was passed, so we do have a legislative breakfast coming up Thursday, and that'll be on one of the unfunded mandates that COG is trying to get the legislature to undo.
Is this regional monitor supposed to be the Mr. Answer person?
Supposed to go around and see how badly we're making
While it's
mistakes.
happening? A
I think
monitor
so.
sounds like somebody who would visit each polling place a month.
That's what
Right.
he's saying, that they're gonna
Right,
travel
plus they'd
around and
also
see
be
what's
like
going
the election czar of Litchfield County.
Right, but so to visit all the places in the 20 towns,
Right.
in each one 15 minutes, maybe,
Yeah.
on. By the time you travel.
by the time you travel.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right, so
Hartford
They
doesn't
would,
know
they,
that.
they would get to know, they get to know everybody, who people are. They have people that aren't doing it right, which I don't think there is anybody in Litchfield County that is making mistakes. They would get to be the Secretary of State's person on the ground. So it's, as I said, it's a complete waste of money, but in this case, $900, we probably will put in, you know, a budget transfer in a month or so, do that. Currently, we have not tapped, this is our first financial crisis, we haven't tapped into the contingency fund yet.
So
Or we can let it run out, see whether we should let it run past the primaries, see how that shakes out.
I would
Because
do
there could
that
be,
myself.
there could be recounts, there could be all sorts of fun with that, so,
Who knows?
Yeah, otherwise you're looking at it again.
right. So you have to call town meeting,
Trump may come to Cornwall.
you never know. Yeah, everybody comes to Cornwall. All right, so anyway, that's the update for the registrars. Northwestern Council of Governments update. We met last Thursday. There were several things done. They passed the 6 responsible growth project applications from the region for conceptual endorsement. So those passed unanimously, including the West Cornwall wastewater feasibility study. There's several trail designs, including looking at a planning segment for the Who Bike Trail in Kent and south of Cornwall Bridge. On the public, there's some public property there, either state or federally owned. So they're looking to see if they can't get the bike trail off Route 7 onto some public property, as far as I understand. So those were passed unanimously. The other thing we're supposed to do is we have a resolution of this Northwest Connect, Jessica Fowler came to our ECD meeting and gave the commission a update on this project to put fiber optic cable throughout northwest Connecticut. And in an effort to help them, the COG has applying for a regional performance incentive grant for them. Which I think is $10,000. Do you have a dollar figure on that, Joyce, do you know? Ooh, guess it's gone up, $200,000. Stop fooling around. Rural broadband and mobile enhancement technology and business model study. Northwest Connect is proposing the fiber network extending over some 21 municipalities, Northwest Connecticut. Connected by this fiber network, small cell antennas mounted to utility poles to provide enhanced mobile coverage across the region. This study would include an inventory of existing services and user needs, stakeholder engagement, technology review to determine technologies available to meet network goals, determine appropriate business model for operations of this network, total cost $200,000. So this is a regional grant. It's similar to the grant the area got to hire Goldman York, but this would actually cover the 21 towns in the COG. And again, Northwest Connect will be at this meeting in Morris on Tuesday, so any questions about their stuff will be there. Because it's a different grant than these 6 projects, we have to have a separate resolution to vote that. So the resolution says that resolve the legislative body of the town of Cornwall endorses the proposal for the project entitled Rural Broadband and Mobile Enhancement Technology and Business Model Study under Regional Performance Incentive Program, reference to the Connecticut General Statute, Section 4-124 S 2014 supplement. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
So do you understand what's going on here? I mean, are there any questions?
No, I do understand what's going on here. The only thing that I wonder, this is just a study to see if it's something that we want to bring in here. What I didn't understand about this Northwest Connect thing going into it from, months ago, I thought it was strictly fiber optics, wires are coming in, it's just gonna be really fast internet. That's what we're going for. But now I'm learning, well, it also has to do with these Wi-Fi repeaters that seem to be a big health concern to a lot of people. And I wonder if there's gonna be any studies on that, if anybody else cares about that.
Or the Jerome P and Z rejected.
Right, and the reason why planning and zoning didn't move ahead with their cell tower regulations was because part of them had to do with these repeaters that were found to be detrimental to folks' health.
Well,
In the short term, they don't even know what it's gonna be in the long term.
2 things. One, the state, what I've asked Jessica to do is have a presentation maybe with the high school, because this is a huge topic and there's some very knowledgeable people on the group that can explain it much better than I can. But in the big picture is that everybody talks about fiber optics, but even rolling out the model programs that people, there's a bunch of these different model programs in different parts of the state. And some of the other areas, more urbanized areas where it would be much less expensive per household to do, have had some difficulty in getting their communities aligned to pull the thing off, even in places in other states where they've had a valiant effort where there's been funding, the actual, what do they call it, uptake or sign off, the people people signing anything. There have been setbacks, bumps in the road. It's not just, you know, like running cable up to your house. This is a much more complicated process, especially, as I said, they're having trouble in some of the more urbanized areas of the state. So I think they're looking at different alternatives on how to do it, different business models, whether it would be through an existing telephone cable company, whether it would be its own corporation, whether it would be a regional entity, whether it be municipalities. Because I mean, not just stringing cable, but then who's going to maintain the cable? How are they going to pay for this fairly substantial investment in infrastructure? So there's a bunch of questions that are out there. Then you have this other thing that have come in, where the cable companies are now looking at putting, you know, repeaters, as I've said, you know, whether it was Optimum or Frontier, somebody was talking about putting something so you
Computer Wi-Fi.
so you can get
Same question.
same question.
Does anyone
But it's
have any?
Well, it's also
health
what we
concerns
have
about
here
those
for
things?
our
It
yeah
is.
Wi-Fi in here. It's just a
I
bigger
know,
system
you can't get
with a
away
bigger
from
range.
it, but-
So those health concerns are out there, whether we have a small modem here or a tower on Popple Swamp Road or small repeaters on telephone poles. You're basically achieving the same thing. You're trying to get coverage in undisturbed areas that don't have it. Because everybody, I mean, not everybody, people want Wi-Fi now, so the question is how do you get to that point? Because people are not, the utilities are backing away from getting towers. And there's some places, and then you're racing with the fiber optic, but that's hitting its bumps too. So there may be a third route running repeaters through the cable system or through the phone system or whatever else. So clearly they've got to do a bunch of work to figure it all out. With the service comes health concerns, whether you're getting off a tower, wherever you're getting your Wi-Fi, you're getting some radiation out of the signal. But I'm not even less familiar with that one.
I think the thing that we had looked at several months ago, I want to say it was Nutmeg, but I'm not sure that was the name of it. It may have been called Nutmeg something.
There was a nutmeg network from last
Right.
year, there was a
Right.
grant
But that
to
was,
run it into the town, that was
that
fiber
was-
optic.
involved with the state, and that was specific to town buildings, I believe. The town
Right.
buildings, this building, the firehouse, the school, maybe a library.
Try to link it up.
And it was not the town or the community, it was just those sets of buildings. And it was a government entity of some sort. I believe this is an independent entity, or possibly the town would own it, or the town would do it. And
Well,
that's,
it's
and that's,
the cogs, yeah.
and that's the question as to who would build it, who would own it, and who would maintain it, and how many people would want it.
I understand all of that, like
And
I
it's a-
said, I just thought it was all wired, and then just
Well,
to
and-
read this, that says it's also the Wi-Fi or the cell phone repeaters on the telephone poles was, oh, okay, well, now there's
Right.
more concern here, and does anyone else care?
I'm sure there'll be some people that care about those health impacts of it. So,
Well, I'd say everybody's concerned about everything that happens, so it doesn't,
I think, you have people concerned about the health impacts, you have people concerned about communities not having coverage.
And this resolution is simply to study all of this,
Right.
all of these questions and information and go from
Right.
there.
But I don't think the towns individual, it doesn't make any sense for each town to figure out what's the best upgraded system. I mean, it makes more sense. I mean, the town of Cornwall isn't gonna bring in fiber optics, wire the whole town by itself. It'd probably have to be part of a regional
Has to be all connected.
thing with some pretty savvy people spending a bunch of time
and
figuring
there
out the
was
best
some,
way to do
I
it.
think Jessica said something that it would end up being connected. I said, where does it get plugged in? That was my question, where is it plugged in? And I think she mentioned Avon, or West Hartford or something.
Right.
that
That's
the-
where my cable comes from, Avon. If I have a problem with my internet, it comes from some transfer station in Avon. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm not sure cable is the same thing. I think cable is actually different than what this is.
go to the same thing, you need a switching station somewhere.
Right, but I think cable is just that, the cable is not fiber optics. It's actually cable.
Okay,
I think that's the difference.
Right.
Well, it's my internet, it's not cable, it's wired though.
have we voted on this?
No, you're not.
Okay, any more discussion?
Okay, so let me just read it one more time, what we're resolving. No, it's stuck. Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Alright.
All right, next, more budget stuff, I
Well,
think.
did you have to do this one on the animal shelter?
We do not have
Which
to
was
do
part
that.
of the, which my question
Well-
on that was, were we gonna be involved in that?
Well, we're not, so I don't think we have to.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well, maybe
mostly,
this just went to other
I
towns.
mean, the COG has generally endorsed it, but that is,
Oh,
you know, there's 8 towns around Torrington that are
okay.
doing that.
More budget.
Okay, more budget. I think we've hit our peak already at some point. I'm not sure when that was, but we have. We have more to do. So,
About an hour ago.
so what I would suggest is we meet again. We have some routine things. We have some things that are already coming in. I've talked to Jane Celery, who's doing well at our new social service, about coming in here, giving us an update at our next regular meeting, which is on the 2nd. Also talked to the fire department, who is, said that they are looking at a fairly flat budget amount. They may come in on the same time. So we're looking at something in February, middle of February. We need to sort of get our budget done by the week before, so we really need to hammer it out around the 10th. So the question is, do you want to meet next week? I don't see, and we could also have Steve O'Neill come in, talk about the transfer station. I don't see a whole lot of problems with issues at this point.
Does Steve have much more going on besides that building that he wants?
No. But I haven't talked to him specifically about it. We could try just have him, I mean, my question is, do you wanna meet before that and just do some small things? I mean, we have like,
Next week?
next week, we have some, but we probably won't get much until February, so I would say we're better off. When's that, the septic meeting?
The 11th of February.
11th, so we can meet, well, our next meeting is the
I
5th.
got it memorized.
No, our next meeting is the 2nd.
Our next meeting here is the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay, so we can meet that Wednesday or Thursday, we could meet that Thursday maybe, if that's convenient to do more budget stuff.
What
Like more
Thursday?
stuff,
Thursday the 4th.
the 4th.
Or
Because-
Gordon, that septic meeting is at 5, so you could still have your 7:30
Yeah,
meeting
that's
if you
what I was
wanted.
gonna say.
Yeah, but I'm thinking,
Yeah,
We
I
sorta
just
need
was
to-
reminding you.
if we, I mean, we can either meet before the 2nd or after the 2nd. I would say we'll try to keep,
You wanna meet after the 2nd because we don't have all the information coming into us yet, is that?
Right.
That's basically what I heard. So
and I can get you, I'll get you something, I'll get you some report from Steve before that, you know, for the 2nd. So we'll spend most of the 2nd on our budget.
so we have the 5, 6, and 9 are the summit,
Right.
and,
That's right.
so those are all taken up right there.
Yeah,
If
the
11
board
is the,
The Board of Finance meeting is the 17th. Yeah,
so it should be between, it should be the day.
should be before the 5th.
Yeah, the 3rd or the 4th, you're right.
Right. We could meet the, yeah, we still got time. If we have to, we can meet the 8th.
I go for the
4th,
3rd or the 4th.
Right. Yeah, try to get it done.
Yeah, I mean,
And then if
because
it's- if
we'll
we have
get
to
most of
tweak-
it done, but there'll still be something that's hanging.
Right, and the Board of Finance wants to know the big picture now. We know, we still have time, we can still adjust it as we go in through February, March.
Does the 3rd or 4th work for you?
All right, so why don't we say we'll do that? We'll post post a meeting for the 4th, and then, right. Okay, anything else on the budget?
Is that gonna be a 7:30 meeting?
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, public comments?
Yes. Oh. I would like to make the request that when I send, or another resident of the town sends an email to Gordon, that it automatically goes to Richard and Heidi. And it can be done very easily because in Optimum Online, you can set that up that way. That way, the entire board gets my question. And I think it's only fair because you guys work together as a board, you know, and that's what we elected as a board. I'm not trying to exclude Gordon, but I would like to make that recommendation.
You can have your own recommendation, but I know some people want to talk to me only, and some people maybe want to talk to Heidi only, and they have that perfect right to do that. People want to talk to
Yes,
the
but-
board, and
but-
so not if somebody wants to talk to Heidi or Richard individually, they can do that. I don't feel I have to hear everything that people talk to them. They have to have some ability to talk to us individually.
Well, you could set up your own private email then, address.
I
If they
could,
wanna
but it-
talk, they can address it to the board. They can, any email and.
Yes, but it gets forwarded, and sometimes things that I've sent haven't gotten forwarded to say Heidi.
Have they been
Yeah.
sent to the board?
Yes,
I forward everything that says to the
I've,
board.
there's been
gets
things,
forwarded.
I've asked her if you got my email, and no, so I think it's not that hard to do. It's very simple to do.
But I don't know if it wants to go to the board, or if they only want it to go to
Well,
Gordon.
I mean, it's the board, that's, you guys run the town. You know, that's the way it is. That's what we elected officials for, you know, and you're a team. That's why I always observe it.
We
I think
send it
the
to
solution
whoever
could-
it's addressed to.
The solution could be that you have 4 emails. One that's Gordon Ridgway, one that's Richard Bromley, one that's Heidi Kearns, and one that simply is what the present one is, which is Cornwall Selectman. I think Cornwall Selectman at optonline.com is the misleading one, because it only goes to Gordon.
Right.
And that's why it's misleading. I think Gordon should have his own email, absolutely. And I like the idea of the communication. But my question had to do with the COG. You said on the responsible growth. I thought I read, you said they had discussed the Uzi bike trail, right? And I think you just said during this meeting that it was from Cornwall Bridge to South Kent. But I thought in their minutes it said it was from Cornwall Bridge to West Cornwall. So which was it?
If you read the handout was from Cornwall Bridge. From Kent to Cornwall Bridge on the east side of the river.
From Kent to Cornwall Bridge.
Correct.
Okay, well then, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Okay, any other public comments?
I just have a question about the meeting on Saturday, the plan of conservation development. If it gets snowed out,
Yeah.
where will it be? Will it be posted like right on the front of the webpage, or
I would
are
hope
we
so.
gonna have to, you know, click here, click there, try to find out where it's actually gonna be posted?
I would hope we get to the webpage.
Right on the homepage, so
Right.
cornwallct.org, it's gonna
Right.
say canceled.
Okay. Next we have delinquent taxes, executive session anticipated. I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Good night.
I'll second that.
Good night.
Good night.